Hey guys. Okay, trying to get it adjusted because it is dark out now and I wasn't prepared for the fact that it gets dark so dang early now. I didn't bring up my fancy lights. Okay, so we'll give it a few moments to see if anybody can be on live tonight. I did let everybody know. Hey, Hazel Lee. Oh, I miss your face. I hope you're doing well. So we're going to give it a few moments to see if anybody can come in. Jennifer, hello. Oh my goodness. Yay. I'm so excited. All right. The replay will be up and this chat should only be about 30 minutes long. Not going to keep you all very long. I also will send it out via YouTube as well. It's already dark there too? Yeah. And then, I don't know, do you guys do the daylight savings time in Canada? Because Sunday we lose an hour of light. So it starts to get dark here at like 5:30. And it will be like that for until March. So it's okay though, because I go to bed really early. I'm like ready for bed at 6 p.m., you know? So I hope you guys can see me okay. I'm doing the best I can. I have like my salt lamp and my computer and then my light behind me. Okay. Awesome. I'm so happy that so many of you are coming in. Just going to give it a few more moments. I hope you guys are all doing really well. Okay. Awesome. This is always like the most awkward time, right? Okay. All right, let's just go ahead and get started because I'm ready. And like I said, if you come in, catch the replay. Okay. So we'll be here for about 30 minutes or so. And to begin, I just want to introduce myself. I know some of you are pretty new to this group being added in by other individuals. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for your support. And also just coming in because of the grief talk mainly. So for those of you who don't necessarily know who I am, my name is Lauren Bentley, and I am a trauma-informed certified cognitive behavioral therapist and a mindfulness teacher. And I also have certifications in personal training, yoga instructor, group fitness, and breathwork facilitator. And so I take all of those certifications and bring in like a somatic experience and somatic responses for my clients. And so tonight, what we're going to be going through is we're going to talk about what grief is not, the effects of grief, the 5 stages of grief, and grief as trauma. And then we're going to end with a little embodiment and somatic practice. And so if you can just be in a comfortable space listening to this, you know, maybe not having this on in the background as you're washing dishes or whatever, but maybe just take these next 30 minutes to just find yourself a comfortable seat. That would be fantastic. In the somatic embodiment experience that you're going to go through, it's very easy. It's not going to be anything weird. So no worries about that. But as always, you can always come back to the replay once we get to that point if you don't feel like you're ready for that. Okay? And then, of course, at the end, I will leave plenty of time for questions if there are any. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and pop them below. I'm going to go ahead and just try to ignore any of the comments for now. And I'll look at them at the end so I don't get sidetracked, okay? All right. So first, let's speak about what is grief, okay? So grief is the internal and very natural response that we have to any loss, okay? We can grieve somebody that we've lost from death or breakups, divorces, friendships leaving, and like even like a pet running away or even like being stolen, things like that. So any sort of loss is a grievance. It can even be a loss of your job, a loss of who you've been before. Even something that is very common is a grievance for the person that we were before a trauma, or the person that we were before a diagnosis. And we often don't take the time to fully grieve that person. And that can be very, very difficult, right? Like when we never allow ourselves to like feel that loss of that person, there's always that missing piece. Okay. So it's of any loss. It's also an experience of the heart, and the heart speaks its very own unique language. The heart speaks language of feeling and sensation. Grief is circular, meaning that we constantly come back to it. As we continue to live our life forward, we're constantly coming back to the emotion of grief. I'm a firm believer that once grief has landed in our lives, that it's always going to be a part of our life. I don't think that we ever actually get through it. And it's something that I love to cover, because so many of us are taught that we are supposed to just like get on with it, push through, move on, but that's not the case. It's a very circular emotion. As we continue to live, it's always going to come back to us. But that doesn't need to mean that it's a life sentence by any means. When you really understand the beautiful emotion of grief, it becomes a beautiful part of your life. Okay, so by it being circular, by it always being a part of your life, I'm not trying to say that to scare you, but we can't keep trying to avoid these emotions, these very strong, heart-centered emotions. It is also unconditional love. And this is something that is honestly like my own very personal opinion about grief. But the deeper you grieve, the deeper the grievance, the deeper you loved that person or that animal. So when you have that deep grievance for something or someone, it can also show you, wow, like what a gift that you were able to experience that deep, deep, true love. And grief is also a very personal experience, and one that is extremely unique to you. And I will speak more about that in a little bit. So what grief is not. It's not an emotion to be contained or understood. How can we fully understand an emotion of the heart that is completely feeling and sensation based with a logical sense from the brain, right? It does not work. It is not something to be contained or understood. Not at all. It is something to be felt. It is something to surrender to. It's not just a bump in the road. It's not something to just get over or be ashamed of. It's not predictable as far as when you're going to feel the stronger emotions or when it's going to kind of like bring itself back into your life. It's not predictable in the least. There's also absolutely no timeline for grief. And it is not linear. Like I just stated a couple moments ago about it being a circular emotion, how we're always coming back to it. Like it's not a linear thing. It's not something we just work on and get through. It's circular, always coming back to us as we live our life forward. So the effects of grief. And I guess, I'm sorry, I should have let you guys know if you wanted to get pen and paper to go ahead and do so. But yeah, you'll be able to watch the replay as well. So effects of grief. Grief affects us on every level of our lives. It affects us physically, and we can experience grief as far as extreme fatigue, body aches, and even digestive issues, especially when you are refusing to feel it, when you're refusing to surrender to it. That's going to amplify. A lot of these sensations will tend to amplify when we try to ignore it, push it away, and just like push through it. It will affect us cognitively with loss of short-term memory, confusion, and trouble concentrating. It can affect us emotionally, feelings of hopelessness, depression, and anxiousness. And it can also affect us spiritually, which can make us question our faith and the meaning of life. So going on now, we have the 5 stages of grief. And now This was created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and I've read somewhere that she actually really regrets ever creating these 5 stages because people try to use it as a roadmap. People try to use it as a step-by-step, and again, as a linear path. But that was never her intention. And so it's very important here that you know and you feel that this is not step by step. This is not a timeline. There is no timeline. You may be in one stage longer than another stage. You may also live simultaneously between 2 stages. You may live in one stage for a very long time. Okay, so this is in no way, shape, or form like an exact pattern, an exact step by step of the process, but it does help us to kind of understand our emotions a little bit more. It provides us that container of support to hold the emotions a bit more. Okay, that's why I wanted to share this here. So the first stage is denial, not fully believing that it happened, and that usually is always going to happen in that the very beginning of the grief, of that loss, is just not allowing yourself to accept that it happened. And then we go into stage 2. Stage 2 is anger. This is a lot of blaming others, blaming yourself. Then we go into bargaining and guilt. And what this is saying things like, if only I would have done this, then they would still be here. Things like that. I will do anything for this person to be back, etc. Then we have deep sadness, which is usually those big fat tears, right? Just loss of appetite, just kind of staring at the wall, loss of desiring to do much of anything. And then we eventually come into the stage of acceptance. However, just because you are in the stage of acceptance does not mean that these other stages are not happening. For me personally, the grief that I have in my life with my dad and my dog is going back and forth between acceptance and the deep sadness. I personally have been able to move through the denial, the anger, the bargaining and guilt, but I often go in between the two, deep sadness and the acceptance. And the thing with grief being so like unpredictable is that I can just be sitting there like laughing with my family and then all of a sudden just be in complete tears because I'm just thinking about my dog who's not here, or something happens that makes me think about him and I just go from laughing to just sobbing. The other night I was literally laughing with my husband and my son in his room and crying at the same time. So it's very unique. It's quite the process, but it's such a beautiful process because now I am able to really see how the unconditional love I experienced in my life. And when I think of my dog Pete, I think about how much gratitude I have for having that love, for having experienced that, because I don't think everybody gets to experience that deep unconditional love. And so what a beautiful, beautiful gift. It doesn't mean that we don't miss that person anymore. It doesn't mean that we're moved on by any means. It just means that we're able to live simultaneously in the same plane as joy and grief, which I think is very acceptable and very much understood and important. It's a part of life, but you can very much live both in that same plane. So now we go into grief as a trauma. We often don't really treat grief as trauma, as loss, heartbreak, and death are all parts of our life. But it is very much a trauma. And in fact, roughly 40% of bereaved people will struggle with an anxiety disorder within that first year following a loss. Grief is the individual response to loss, okay? But mourning is the active and shared response. When we mourn, we express our grief. This sharing can help the grief to at least transform. Okay? So I really invite you at your own pace that you may find a safe place, people that you trust. You can even find a grief therapist, grief support groups, and different places for you to be able to share your experience, as well as trying a few of the practices that we're about to do together. But I really encourage you to take your time. I don't know how many of you actually are feeling grief in your body right now. If you've experienced a recent grief and you've just really been trying to push it away, or if some of these grievances have happened years ago and you've just been in a place of really pushing it down and trying to ignore it, push it out. So in saying that, it depends on where you are at specifically in your own journey, if how easily and how quickly you're going to be able to really begin to feel the emotion and begin to allow grief to be the energy in motion that the emotion of it is. It depends on how far you push it down and push it out. Are you going to be able to feel into it and get ready to like speak about it and share about it? Okay, so I just want you to begin to gently invite yourself to get curious about it. Perhaps even pulling out a journal and think about if you've lost grandparents, if you've lost pets when you were a child, anything that's happened in your life, any sort of loss in your life. Did you actually allow yourself to feel the grievance? Have you allowed yourself to mourn that loss, to speak about it with somebody, to share it, right? And see what happens for you, see what comes up for you, because I really believe that we start to call all these parts home to ourselves, and with it being an emotion of the heart, we're able to anchor ourselves even deeper into the heart space. As we travel from the mind and into the body, we're just strengthening those pathways home. We're strengthening the pathway from the very logical thinking mind that like never shuts up, right? And down into the body of feeling, of surrendering, of receiving, of embodiment, of this joy and peace and even pain, right? But like we can feel it all in our body. We can live like this wholesome life by strengthening that pathway home. And so when we begin to allow ourselves to explore our grievances, we're allowing the heart space to begin to crack open. We're allowing ourselves to feel safe in our heart. Okay? Does that make sense? So what I want to do before I answer any of these questions, if there are any, I would love to take you through a very gentle embodiment and somatic experience for grief. Now, like I said, if you are like, well, I'm kind of just here to hear about it. I can't really pull up any grief right now. I really kind of need to sit with myself and journal about this. That's okay. You're welcome to just sit and listen to this and come back to it later. Or if you want, you can also use this for any different emotion that's within your body right now. If you've been experiencing a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, feelings of hopelessness, doubt, fears, anxiousness, like we're feeling a lot of this right now, right? Especially we're here in the States, the election's coming up, and then cosmically we have these huge moons and Halloween and another eclipse coming, right? So whatever emotion you are feeling, emotions are the way that our body communicates. So any emotion is going to help you connect with this. All right. So all that you need to do for this is just find yourself in a comfortable seat. You can be in your couch, a chair, on the floor, wherever. And I just want you to take a moment to sit up tall in a way that you can feel comfortable, but allow your body to be relaxed. And go ahead and place your left hand over your heart space and your right hand on your belly. And we're going to first begin by just gently tapping these areas. So we're tapping these areas to invite it to wake up. So oftentimes, if we're trying to avoid an emotion, especially as heavy and vulnerable as grief is, we want to numb out. And when we numb out, we only want to live from like the neck up. Okay, so we completely escape our entire body. So even taking a deep breath and being able to feel grounded in your body is almost impossible because we have completely turned off these spaces in the body. We've forgotten about those pathways home, right? So let's begin to strengthen that pathway together right now. So just take your hands and tap the heart space and tap the belly if you haven't been doing it already. And you can do this anytime that you feel like, do you ever have those moments that you feel like you just can't get a deep breath? Because I know I had those days. And you can just tap these spaces to see if you can wake it up. Okay. So now when you feel you've woken these spaces up, please place your hands back on your body, and you can either soften the gaze, just maybe looking down towards the nose or just looking at something in front of you, or you're welcome to close your eyes, whatever feels the best to you. And I just want you to feel your hands on your body, feel the warmth from your hands, and then feel your body giving back to your hands. So that's this beautiful giving and receiving. And feel your breath flowing into the belly, filling up the chest, and exhale it out. Finding a couple more just like this, breathing in and out, just feeling your body here. And now you can gently bat your eyelashes open if they're not already, and you can place your hands onto your lap or wherever it feels comfortable. And I want you to first begin to just scan the environment that you're in. And until you land on something that brings you kind of like a soothing sensation, okay? And it can be anything. I've had clients land on a plug-in before. So maybe it's your salt lamp, maybe it's a crystal or a plant, maybe it's a tree outside your window. It doesn't matter. Just scanning your environment and allowing yourself to soften your gaze onto that item that's bringing you a soothing sensation. And allow yourself to settle here for just a few moments. Being easy with your breath. And now, either out loud or in your head, I want you to name your emotion. And again, for this class, it can be grief, it can be sadness, hopelessness, anxiety, depression, anger, confusion, right? Whatever it may be. I just want you to name your emotion. It can be anything. Even be happy, joyful. Right? Love. It's okay to have a more lighter emotion as well for this. And now I want you to locate that emotion inside of your body. And I want you to really sense the emotion and feel the physical sensations and allow yourself to be with it. Okay, especially if it's one of those heavier emotions that we tend to want to run from. See if you can allow yourself to stay here with that emotion without wanting to run from it. And now, while staying connected to the sensation, I want you to express it with a gesture or maybe a posture. Any sort of movement. It could also be with breath, sound, or even a song. Just allow yourself to express your emotion using your body. And allow it to completely unfold. Stay with your body until you feel it has completed. Just let your body tell the story. Now just give it a few moments. And now I want you to end by searching your environment again and landing on an item that brings you a soothing sensation. And it might be the same object and it might be something different. Doesn't matter. And allowing yourself to rest here on this object for a few moments. And allowing yourself to observe how your body's natural ability to calm. And now bringing your hands back to your body and either softening the gaze, either down towards the nose or to an object slightly in front of you, or closing your eyes completely. We're going to end with a grief breath. So first, just simply deepening the breath back into the belly and into the chest, and exhaling all the way out. And finding that a couple more times, inhaling and exhaling. Final time. So now we're going to inhale through the nose. And on the exhale, we're going to make the sound S, like a snake. And it's going to sound like this. We're going to find 5 rounds of that. That is a very cleansing breath for your lungs. Your lungs is the space that holds those feelings of hopelessness, sadness, and sorrow. Okay, so here we go. Let's find those 5 rounds. And the last one. Awesome. Just keep your hands where they are for a few moments. Perhaps noticing that you feel more anchored into your body. Maybe even more anchored into your heart space. And again, allowing your hands to give the warmth to your body and feel your body giving back to your hands. And when you feel ready, you can begin to open your eyes. And you can leave your hands where they are if that feels good, or you can release them down to your lap. So feel free to take that embodiment exercise with you. Just one of those things where when you feel those heavy emotions and you want to run from it, give yourself that time to find that space to sit in, looking around your room, locating the emotion, to find a sense of calmness, locating the emotion, allowing yourself to express the emotion with your body, and then allowing yourself to calm back down. It's a really beautiful way, like I said, to strengthen the pathway home, as well as to strengthen your relationship with your emotions. It's not something to run from, and because our emotions are incredible and you are so worthy of feeling all of them. There's no negative or positive emotions. They're all just emotions, right? And if we want to have this experience of living in our body, we need to be able to feel our emotions, right? We need to be able to express them and live with them, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and leave this time open to answer any questions. If you have any comments, please share. If you would like to share about what you experienced in that somatic response, please share it as well. And as always, you're welcome to reach out to me privately if you don't feel comfortable sharing it publicly. I'm just going to look through and see what was already said. Hazel says, dogs are earth angels. They are. It's been a while since the losses, but still circling around the stages of grief. Yes, 100%. And that was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much. You are so welcome. Thank you very much for joining. I hope that you all take this with you. And oh, you're so welcome, Jen. Thank you so much. I do want to just end with a quick call to action. The Breathe and Receive membership, new uploads do go into it on Sunday, November 1st, and it's grief support. So there is yin yoga for grief. There's several breathwork classes, a Reiki healing journey. There's a couple meditations. There's lots of things for cognitive and somatic experiences. And there's also, there's different experiences for you to have for different experiences of grief. Grieving people who have left your life who are still alive, because that's really difficult. And then obviously grieving the ones that we have lost due to it just being the end of their time here, So for watching, I am offering 15% off of the membership. So I think it takes it down to like $22 a month. There's no contracts. The coupon code is GRIEF because I'm really original. All capital letters. I'll put it in the comments for you to click the link and then just easily with that coupon code to put it in. So this library gets added to the first of every month. So if you become a member, you get access to all the previous themes. That's full of incredible stuff. Sound healing, breath work, Reiki, EFT tapping, meditations, all that amazing stuff. Kundalini yoga, different sorts of yoga classes. We also have 1 to 3 group coaching calls a month, and you get discounts on single session mentoring calls with me. So I'll be in the show notes below. So thank you all so much. Like I said, if you have any questions, comments you want to share, you're welcome to drop them here. I'll definitely see them later, or you can reach out to me privately. All right. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great night.